Welcome to the Jedi Ranger. I'm JohnBerry555, and I'm continuing my series of MASH retro reviews for Season 4, Episode 14, The Gun. So the premise of the episode is that a colonel comes in wounded, injured actually, not wounded because it was a American tank that hit their Jeep. Not an enemy tank, and it was not combat operations. But anyhow, he has an old Colt service revolver. In the dialogue, I will say they do describe it as one type of Colt revolver, while the actual prop is a different type. But regardless of that, he comes in and he's a bit obsessed with it, and it goes missing. And Radar's blamed because he's the one in charge of the locker where they keep all the soldiers' guns and that stuff. And he could be facing 15 years if they don't find the gun or find who actually took it. Yeah, not good. So can I say one thing? When Radar was collecting the guns, he talked about it that the colonel would get a receipt at standard SOP, which I didn't see standard because the S in SOP stands for standard operating practice or procedure. I'm actually surprised they actually threw that jargon in just, I wouldn't have expected MASH to actually thought, hey, let's throw in some proper, bureaucratic jargon. But they did. But anyhow, the last person to see the gun was Radar and Frank. Yeah, Frank took the gun, and he tried to say it was his. Yeah. Margaret's mad at him by the end of the episode for that, after Frank shoots himself in the foot when he decided to return the gun. There's actually a scene, and this is shortly after the scene where Hawkeye and BJ confront Frank because they suspect it's Frank, and, well, Frank actually has a valid point. They're assuming Radar's innocent until proven otherwise. Why doesn't he get the same treatment? And yeah, and then Hawkeye and BJ is like, don't you hate it when he's right? And Frank is right in that regard. But Hawkeye and BJ also right in their suspicions. And by the way, during the Radar actually gets drunk in this episode off of not even a full beer, and he eventually goes to post op to confront the colonel, and that's when Frank is returned the gun and the gun goes off. And Radar being there proves that Radar didn't steal the gun. But can I say something? Why is the gun kept loaded? Seriously, why is it kept loaded? That is just bad safety practices. At least I know in the Cold War, like going into certain places, soldiers would have to remove all the ammunition from their guns and then discharge it in a safe manner to make sure it was empty. I do know that did occur on some military installations in the Cold War. So why is the gun kept loaded? Why? Did Frank load it? I don't know. Did it not unload it when it got to the camp? Like, what's going on there? Why was it loaded? Why? Because they wouldn't have been able to do the episode otherwise. And actually, I'm not sure what the standard procedures revolving around guns being carried or being stored back during the Korean War. I don't know what the actual procedures were back then. But still, not a very safe practice to keep it loaded. And that's pretty much the episode, but there's a few other things going on. There's a scene where Radar falls asleep, so Colonel Parter have to make an announcement basically telling him, hey, return the gun, and we won't ask any more questions. Which Frank takes advantage of. But that's besides the point, as Colonel Parter goes to tuck Radar in, bring his blanket up, take his glasses off, his keys off, and all that, and also make sure to grab Radar's teddy bear to put in so that way Radar would have his teddy bear, which is just a sweet little scene. Kind of shows that that I would say almost grandfatherly role that he fulfills with Radar. Slightly different than probably more of the fatherly role that more of the walkover type fatherly role that Henry had filled. Just wanted to throw that out there. And then at the end of the episode, they apparently had switched glasses, which we don't see in the episode, but apparently did happen. And while the Mash Wiki does describe that as a goof, thing is, things can happen off screen. I mean, like the gun, we would assume was unloaded, but it was actually loaded. It could have been loaded off screen by Frank or came in off screen loaded. We don't know. And for things like that, you can say, yep, that's an off screen thing. Now, if it happened in a different manner, then sure, but let's just assume it happened off screen. That's the easiest way. We also didn't see Frank discharge the gun. We didn't see that. No. But we heard it. Also, I love the scene where Margaret asks Father Mulcahy's what happened. He said, was that a gunshot? He says, well, I don't know. I don't want you to spread any unfounded rumors, but the scuttlebutt is that a gun was fired. I just love that scene. Like, there's some good comedy moments in here as well. I think it's overall just a good, fun episode. And really, Frank should have gotten in trouble. Conduct unbecoming an officer for one. And the Mash Wikia mentioned another one. Something about, basically taking property that's not yours. So, stealing. And also, Frank learns the wrong lesson. He learns the lesson that if you steal something, you shouldn't return it. Frank, how about the lesson is, don't steal it to begin with. I feel like they're doing this also to, I don't know if they had in mind in the coming seasons where they were going to, fully separate Margaret's character from Frank and have her, meet Donna Penobscot and get married. But this episode certainly helps to show that the distance is forming, because the look that Loretta Swit gives playing Margaret after Frank said that says a lot. Like, I can't believe you just said that. And also, Frank was only grazed. He wasn't actually seriously injured, so it's not like, he was, lightheaded, blood everywhere. Well, yeah, maybe you wouldn't be making the most sound decisions. But no, it's just a graze. Like, no blood, no bleeding, nothing like that. At least on screen, maybe in real life, but it was, literally, Margaret's own dialogue says that it wasn't serious. And yet, Frank's behaviors would only be justified if he was losing a lot of blood and it was a really serious wound. But that's Frank for you. But like I said, good fun episode overall. I enjoyed it, but I would love to hear your thoughts about it in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching my video. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to give this video a like and share. Also, consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date on all my latest content. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. May the force be with you always.